How do you stop speaking to broke leads? If you feel like you or your sales reps are wasting time getting on the phone with people who don't have enough pain or just flat out broke and you just waste your time on the phone every day, this video is for you because when you start a business and you need to sell for that business taking sales calls, you're not in the business of taking calls with people who are unqualified, people who cannot afford your service, because those people you can't even help. So you're wasting your time and their time. You're in the business of getting on the phone with people who can actually use your help and who can actually benefit from it. And no one wants to be speaking with people who aren't a good fit because you waste your time, you also waste your team's time, and you also waste your money on those leads, money that you can be making speaking to more qualified leads. And I myself and my clients went through this multiple times before. We were stuck in a loop speaking to tons of broke leads. The amount of unqualified calls we took is absolutely insane. And that all led me to create a process which helps me speak with people who are qualified and helps me avoid speaking to people who are broke, aren't a fit, don't have the means to even buy the program. They don't have any intention for it, and then they just flood me with objections at the end of the sales call. No one wants to deal with that. So that's why I built the system that's helped us have an over 90% qualification rate and a 30% closing rate at 400 calls a month. This was taken last month. This month we will go and surpass 400 calls. As you can see here, these are some of the year-to-date stats for this client here. 1,200 calls up until the month of April. Live calls show up rate, right? And then the closing rate is right here at 28%. Now, in no way am I saying that just qualifying leads better is going to fix your entire closing rate or get you to revenue numbers like this where we're hitting 200, 250K a month, but it will fix some of that process. It's going to help you get better quality people on the phone and indirectly raise your closing rate. Because to be transparent, if you're bad and if you're terrible at sales, your closing rate will be terrible. But having better leads on the phone, having no bad leads and unqualified leads on the phone will help you raise that closing rate and as a result, help you make more money and raise your revenue. So to start, you need to understand these two principles when qualifying prospects because these will make so much sense when I explain these. If you don't understand them, your view of a qualification process and how you're supposed to qualify prospects literally won't allow you to properly qualify them and you're going to keep struggling with bad fits. So what are these two principles? Number one, push and pull mechanisms in your entire qualification process. So you need to be pushing your prospects away and making them pull you back. I mean, it's like, texting a girl or texting a guy if you're a girl. And if there is interest, which there is interest from your prospects, if they're texting you, they will keep trying to pull you back when you push them away. And what you do a lot of the time when you push someone away is you present an authority frame, which is very, very important when qualifying prospects. And here's why it's important. You have to show them that working with you isn't simple. You have to make them understand that you don't care about the money. You don't care about the fact that they can pay you this money because you only work with qualified prospects. And this frame needs to be set in your pre-call booking process, in your setting process, your sales process, everywhere, right? This entire thing makes them feel that you don't need to work with them, right? That's the entire thing that it comes down to. The qualified ones will pull you back. The unqualified ones will not care enough about working with you. They will not care about your product enough. They will not care about, the desire or whatever you're helping them solve to actually pull back on you. So when you push them away with your frame, with the setting process, the pre-call process, and even your marketing, right? That's the most important thing. They're not going to pull back, they're just going to go away. And that's the point. So you need to start doing this in your actual marketing and how you frame yourself when you put yourself out there to the world. So for example, if you need to lose X kg or more, if you're a fitness coach, right? If you're helping people lose weight, you don't help people unless they need to lose a certain amount of weight. Because if they want to lose a certain amount of weight, they have a certain amount of pain. Or again, if you're doing some sort of make money online offer, something related to money, or helping agency scale, whatever it is. If you make 5K per month or more as a coach or creator, then you can work with me, right? Because you don't want to work with people who are unqualified for your services. You need to set this frame in all of your content so that people understand this before they even get into your funnel. Now, speaking of funnels here, let me close this off. Let's go into the actual process, right? The second principle here is adding friction. So once you understand how to push and pull people away, you need to add more friction to your process. And that's literally what qualifying people and qualifying your prospects and getting better people on the phone comes down to. It's adding more friction to the process and making it harder for people to come through the conversion. So how do you actually add friction? We'll get to that in a second. Adding friction is basically making a prospect jump through more hoops before they can end up converting onto a call. Obviously, you don't want to add too much friction where you're at a point of diminishing return. It's like so much friction that you're pushing your entire market away. But you need to add enough friction to push the people that you don't want to speak with away from you. Now, if you're still watching this video, let's actually go into how do you add more friction? How do you make more money on your time? And how do you stop wasting time and money on these broke leads? So number one, DM questions with finance objections, right? DM questions that combat those finance objections that you get on the sales call. Second one is 2-call closes with a triage call or a discovery call, whatever you want to call it. So what is a 2-call close? What is a triage call? 10 to 15 minute live discovery call before booking. This works like the DM setting process. It's just done over the phone, so it's a bit faster and there's less chances for a prospect to get disengaged if you use a phone setter for this. Now with DM questions and the finance objections, how you handle these through the DMs. Number one is having a list of disqualification standards. These are the red flags. This is also, by the way, for the triage calls here. These are the red flags that you're digging for and you're disqualifying based on, right? So based on these red flags, you either disqualify a person or you vet them. So that's how that works. With DM setting, by the way, if you are using setters, very important. You need to have a quality accountability channel. Even if you're using phone setters, this applies as well. I can't tell you how many times we've had setters that would just book people in who aren't qualified just to book them in. Right? And it makes sense because I've been in this situation before as well when I did setting myself. You want to get through as many people on the phone as possible because that raises the chances of how many sales you're going to make, your commissions as a setter as well. What ends up happening is a setter can get too attached to a conversation. They can try and let people slip by through the qualification process. And this goes against you, and this goes against this whole entire video on how you're supposed to be qualifying people. So what a quality accountability channel does is it's literally a text channel with the entire sales team. If you don't have a huge sales team, you can put some other team members in there. And every time you or someone from your sales team speaks to a disqualified call, you drop it in that channel and you tag the setter. It's more positioned as a channel where you're posting these calls that weren't supposed to ever churn into calls to keep the setter accountable and also teach them by examples. If you have a huge sales team and a setting team, this alone is going to add multiple percentage points to your qualification rate and how many of the calls you take are qualified just by keeping everyone accountable. This is what it does. But this alone isn't going to help you if you don't understand how you actually disqualify people in the DMs. So here's what I'm going to help you understand here. There's questions based on red flags only, and there's questions that everyone gets asked to dig for red flags and basically probe them to see if they have any red flags. These are questions that only pop up and get asked by your setter or your phone setter, right? The triage caller. Only if a person says something that triggers a red flag. If you're selling some sort of coaching program and a prospect mentions, finances multiple times, they say they're going through a divorce, they say they are in a tough financial position, this would prompt for the triage caller or the text setter to apply questions based on these red flags. But normally they wouldn't apply them unless a prospect points out a red flag like this. Now, what are some examples of questions that everyone gets asked to dig for red flags, right? Every prospect that comes through, they can get asked a question to probe what is their financial situation and probe for the common objections you get. Because these list of disqualification standards, these literally come from the objections you get on sales calls, right? So you have this kind of feedback loop where you get on a sales call, you get an objection, you get it a few times. Okay, I should probe this in the setting process, in the discovery process, so I don't get this on sales calls. So here's what we did. A few questions into the qualifying process, a few questions into the setting process, we asked this question. We qualified if they're already in another program because one of the most common objections on sales calls for this company was that they're already in another program. So here's the question. Bro, based on what I'm seeing, you seem to be on top of it. Where do you get all your knowledge from? Do you see how this is framed as knowledge? We're not directly asking them, are you in another program? This is the same thing as directly asking someone on a call, how much money do you have? It obviously doesn't work if you ask it in the wrong way. So once they say yes or no, it's a yes or no question, very close-ended question, which is the point. We get them to expand on it. So would you say it was worth the money from you? So if they say yes, they're in another program, was that program worth it for you? Right? That's what we're qualifying. If they say no, perfect. These are qualified prospects because we're not going to be competing with another program they're in to get them into this program, right? So wow, great to see you manage on your own, bro. Again, guys, this is an e-commerce software, so this is targeting a younger audience between the ages 18 up to 30, which is a very important lesson for you as well because you need to use verbiage that applies to your audience whenever you write these scripts. If they say that their goal is X and in the past few months, they didn't hit another goal because of this program they're already in, then we go on and we bridge off and we know that these people could be qualified because this community, this program they're already in, it's not helping them hit their goals. So that's where we step in, right? If they say they're still very happy with the program, we probe them one more time. We ask them, can you scale to your target goal, the one they mentioned here, within the next 90 days, right? With the program and the systems that this program is teaching you. If they say yes, we're done with them. They're unqualified. If they say no, we go back and we book them for a call. This is how deep your qualification process needs to go with your phone setting teams and your text setting teams. If you're not sure how to exactly build out a text script and even a phone script, I made 2 videos on this on my channel. They're going to be in the description so you can check them out, going over how you actually create a script and how you have a perfect appointment setting and qualification process. So now that you know how you qualify them with setters and triage callers, you also can implement surveys. This is the most common one. You've probably seen surveys like this before. It's not as needed if you qualify with setting or triaging, but it could be used, especially if you have an automated booking process. So if someone's booking from a VSL or if someone's booking from some sort of webinar, you can just use a survey. If you have leads coming in from VSLs or webinars, and your qualification rate is still low, I recommend you implement that triage caller or that phone setter because that's going to help vet more people. Now you can use the survey though. So you have the pre-opt-in form survey. This is before someone even comes into your funnel. So this could happen before someone comes in and speaks with a setter, right? So this is something V-Shred does. You can check it out on his page. Just a really good example of this. They qualify you through a quiz, a survey, and now they know exactly what kind of person that lead is when a setter starts speaking to them or when they start speaking to you. Now the second thing is obvious, it's the post-booking survey. So this is the actual Calendly survey. So I can just show you one that I've used myself here. Let's check out some questions here. So just some simple questions, right? Where do you want to be in the next 60 days, X amount of days? What best describes your current situation? You've probably seen these before. These are pretty simple. Have every possible disqualification question you hear on your objections. So the objections you hear on your sales calls, you plug them back into the survey and you qualify to see if the people are disqualified based on those objections. One of the most common objections you get is, I need to talk to my spouse, right? I need to talk to my husband. I need to talk to my wife. That's something you can plug into the survey and ask if they're a sole decision maker or if they need a spouse on a call, and just dig more into that so you have that context before that call, and again, you're qualifying them. Now, all of this is cool, but if you want to exceed, and you do if you're still watching this video, and you want to make as much money as possible with efficiency so you can hit 6-7 figures and you're not dealing with these unqualified broke people, you need to start measuring. You need to start measuring every single step in your process. And I'm not talking about just measuring 50% qualification rate, 90% qualification rate. That's old. You need to measure every single lead individually. Now, there's multiple things you can use to measure a lead. You can measure their red flags. You can measure their green flags, so you can compare those. You know, if they have a bad financial situation, that's -1 point. If they have a lot of savings, that's +1 point. But I like to have a pain scale. This is the one thing that so many sales processes look past. People need to be in pain to buy from you. Do they have enough pain to actually buy from you? And how do you measure that pain? How much pain do you have? Think about this. When you go to a doctor, when you have an emergency and you go to the doctor, the hospital, right, the medical facility, what happens? They ask you, what is your pain on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Doctors have this rating system, and you need to have this rating system as well, because this is how you measure how much pain and motive someone has to make a change and actually buy from you, right? Less urgency, less pain, right, creates less urgency, and that's less desire for a solution. They have less desire to actually solve their problem, so they're a less qualified prospect. More pain, more urgency, more desire for a solution, right? They need that solution now. They need it badly. So how do you measure pain? How do you vet pain and see how much pain someone is in? You need to understand their why, right? Why are they doing this? How strong is that why? How strong is that why? And what happens if they keep failing or if they fail? And how much are they scared of that failing? And how much are they scared of that failure happening? Are they complacent, or are they on the line where if they don't do this now, if they don't change their situation, they're screwed? That's what you need to understand. And you need to have a rating, a point system to be able to measure every single prospect like that, because that's what's going to give you enough insights to actually create a scalable process around this. So here's an example. Here's a scale. I did my best to draw this. Someone who's doing door-to-door sales, we're using a sales program example if you're selling a sales program. Someone who's doing door-to-door sales knocking in the sun, you know, in the scorching sun all day, and has to drive around to knock on doors, they're barely scraping by. They have more pain than someone who, on the other hand here, someone who wants to do sales but is already stably doing 10K per month, right? Someone who's getting into remote sales and doing door-to-door, they're going to have much more urgency and pain. They're going to be a more qualified prospect in that sense to buy from you and buy from you now, right? So it's easier to close them. That raises your closing percentage. Someone who needs to lose 20 kg, or they will get diabetes if you're selling something related to weight loss or fitness, has more pain than someone on the other end of the scale who just needs to lose 5 kg of weight and it's pretty complacent and fine with where they are right now in life. Very important, but this is looked past by so many sales processes and so many salespeople and founders. They don't really measure their prospects' pain. How much pain are they actually in? Guys, so this is the entire process, but the thing is, it's not going to work if you don't understand one thing. Now, that one thing is having a constant feedback loop between your marketing frame, between your setter, survey qualification, and your sales calls objections. You need to have a feedback loop from every objections to your marketing frame, to your setter qualification. If you do not have this, how do you expect to change? You cannot change. Every objection needs to feed into marketing. Every objection needs to feed back into setting. Then see how does that affect the objections. Do you get less of the same objection from these disqualified, broke or not intentional prospects? Guys, so that's really what it comes down to. When you do need help with your qualification process and your sales process and scaling your coaching business, book a call with me below. If you want any of the resources here in the video, join the school. Link is in the description, as well as check out the videos if you need help writing scripts. These are some of the masterclasses. So these are longer assets. Don't expect this to be 10 minutes. Both of these are like 2 hours, 2.5 hours combined. So these are going to run you through step by step. How do you actually have a script, and how do you have a perfect setting process to weed out all these prospects and improve your qualification rate? All right, that's it.